Hey, stylish mamas. So, real life has begun. Real life has begun, Rose. Yeah. Baby one and baby two. Being a mom to two is very different. It's a very different scenario. Today I wanted to talk about postpartum and prenatal, I believe it's called, depression. I'm about a month into having her, and it is good. I think the second one's easier. I do believe that that is true. You kind of already got a dynamic down with you and your husband. I think it is harder to establish it with a toddler, but we are trying to navigate that. I have yet to be home alone all day, so that's something also that we're trying to figure out how it's going to work. I will be home all day in about a week, so we will see how that works out. It's a little nerve-wracking to me, but I know it's going to go. I know it's going to be fine. We definitely have a good system down, my husband and I. He takes care of my son, and I take care of her. We do things as a family. We have my son help out when we need him to help, so that he feels a part of the process. So, depression. I am so blessed to not have had it yet. I don't know if it can creep up. I'm sure at certain points it can. Right now it's still the beginning. I do believe that once my husband goes back to work, it is going to become a little more difficult, and reality is going to set in for me. I'm not really quite sure what that looks like, but I'm very aware and open to the thought of my feelings of the day to day, and the minute by minute, and the hour by hour. With my son, it was different. I didn't have depression, but breastfeeding was so difficult. I faced so many challenges. We didn't have skin-to-skin time. The latch was bad. He had the lip and tongue tie that I didn't find out until a month in. We had to do a lot of... we had to do the surgery, and then we had to feed him through a tube, through the nipple shield, and that was, anything but pleasant. And we didn't, we went to many lactation classes. Finally, in May, I ended up hiring a lactation consultant. We went to chirotherapy, at least 10 to 12 sessions. It was very difficult. There was so much to it that was just so hard, and that was, I think, my biggest challenge. And I wasn't depressed, but it was emotionally, physically draining and exhausting. My husband was all about doing it the right way, breastfeeding, no formula, and I was striving to make sure that I tried and I tried. If I did all natural birth, how come I can't do breastfeeding? I don't understand. I was very much in my head about it. I was so upset. Every time I would feed him, I would just cry. It hurt so bad. It was a really terrible process. Finally, May, it was actually on my birthday, I had a lactation class session, and it ended up going okay. Went home, and it actually started to work. We went in 8 months with breastfeeding, and I ended up pulling it out like a champ, and it ended up working out. But goodness, so difficult in the beginning stages, and you just never know how that's going to happen for you. And give yourself grace. It's a challenge. You think it's going to be all natural and all innate, and you think, why is it so difficult? Like, this should be a natural process, just like giving birth, just like having, being pregnant, having a child. Like, everything should be organic, and breastfeeding for some reason is not. It is not that easy. So give yourself grace about it. It's a process. Do what you got to do as a mom. Obviously, feeding, yes, breast milk is so important. If it's just too hurt to actually feed them, then pump it. you know, if it works. There really is no rhyme or reason why you should feel ashamed of what route you go, whether it's formula or bottle or whatever you feel best about, because it's your body and you're just trying to do the best thing for your child. And if that's right for you, then do it. It's exhausting. You're exhausted. It's like every 2 hours, you know, like every 3 hours through the night. You just got to find out what works for you. We've established day and night, and for us that works. 8 o'clock, we put her in pajamas, we turn on the lights. I feed her last feeding for the evening. She goes down, she feeds again at 11. Usually I stay up until 11 to feed her, and then it happens again at 3:30, then it happens again at 5:36, and then 7:38. And then throughout the day, sometimes every 2 hours, like today, or sometimes hour and a half, maybe 2.5, 3 hours. It just really depends. It's exhausting, I know. Give yourself grace. Like I said, though I've never experienced depression, there's so many like different type prenatal depression where you are depressed while you're pregnant. Your body's changing, your hormones are going crazy, you are trying to understand the new body that you are now forming, and just the life that you are carrying, and the restrictions you have, and heaven forbid if you have diabetes, that can be another factor in it all, that you might be just like, oh my gosh, like this is now restricting my food, and then you have heartburn, and then you can't eat certain things because it just hurts so bad and it wakes you up at 3 a.m. There's just so many different things that can happen. So again, you know, hopefully you have a supportive partner who can talk to you and walk you through things and help you out, and just be able to talk to you and allow you to cry it out, or allow you to get frustrated. And it's okay to feel those things, and it's okay to go through that, and understand that you're not alone, and there's so many people out there that have the same feelings. You know, I know friends who just didn't want to be around their babies and wanted to give their babies up, you know, to their husbands and say, I'm leaving, you know, I am getting out of the house for a few hours, figure it out, you know, feed them. And it's so hard, because it's truly, you still love that baby, but your body is going through something, and it's chemical imbalance at that point. It's just your hormones going crazy. And I understand scientific names and reasons and rhymes for it all, but in reality it is what it is, and it's okay to feel that way, but you also need to have some support behind you, whether it's your friends, your family, your husband, your spouse, your significant other. Just know that everyone's feeling something. There's something everyone's feeling. With my son, it was not having a job. I got laid off, and I didn't have a job after going back to work, and that was super hard for me, and I really loved working, and then at the end it just didn't make any sense to work, because that money was going straight to childcare. And so for us, it was staying home for me, and that was really hard, and it took me a good amount of time to finally accept it, probably like 8 months. And I mean, it was a hefty amount of time to accept it. Also with my son, I broke my leg very early on, and that was also, that did cause me some depression. By then, I was feeding him well. We were good into feeding, but then I broke my leg, and that was super hard. Within that same month, I lost my job. So it was just one thing after another that month. And it was very difficult. And I did go into depression during that time because of how I felt. So outside circumstances can happen and have you feel like terrible, even though it's not your baby that's making you feel terrible. It's other things. But then the baby on top of it, it's just overwhelming, right? It's an overwhelming feeling. So again, having family and friends to talk you through it, to talk I didn't really feel like talking at all after I broke my leg. It was sad. I mean, I would cry. I was so upset. Like, God, why would you have this happen to me? This is so ridiculous. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. My baby would be on my bed with me all the time because I couldn't go out. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't drive. It was the wrong foot, so I couldn't drive. And I just remember feeling so down in the dumps about it. And I now know with this one, it's like, I have 2 legs. I can walk. Thank God. You know, I am going to get through this, and I am going to persevere with breastfeeding, and I'm going to make this work. She is a good feeder, and I am blessed by that. It still hurts. It's not like the most enjoyable thing. It's hard when you're out. Today we were out, and we were at Costco with the family, and we brought milk, and some of the milk spilled out, so it wasn't the full amount of milk. And she took it, and she wanted more, and she was so upset that she started crying like tears. So that was terrible. I was like, I have to feed her. Like, I'm gonna have to feed her now. I had to go in the car in the like heat and feed her. I think my mother-in-law came and turned on the air for me in the car so that I can get some air with her. But it's like she was so upset, and it's like, you got to do what you got to do. And yes, if you have to feed in the car because you're out in public and you need to prop yourself up in a certain way to feed, then do that. And you feel like a champ afterwards. It's like, man, us women, we go through so much. We are amazing. And give yourself that grace, because you are amazing, and you too will feel and face these challenges that might throw you back. But just know that you just not only birthed, but you have stored a baby in your body for 9 months, and that alone is incredible. You created a human, and you are helping them survive. And then when you give birth, no matter which way you do it, all natural, epidural, C-section, it doesn't matter. You birthed a child, and that alone is absolutely incredible. And when you go home and you start your journey on and feeding and just the life that you're starting to cultivate for this baby, it's awesome. You are doing great. Don't ever doubt yourself. This baby loves you. This baby needs you. And you are one of a kind. And you were meant to be the mother to this little human. So don't forget that ever. All right, ladies, that's about all I want to talk about. I just wanted to touch base on that. And there's support groups out there. I know Facebook has a few. I'm on Mom Talk, and I'm also on Badass Breastfeeders. And that is great. Those are both great groups. There's women who are encouraging and positive and help you out if you have questions. People are wonderful, and I advise you to get on those groups and put your worries, your concerns, and your terrors out there to them, and let them help and guide you, because they most likely have already been through it before, or you're going to be on the journey with them. So there's other ways to go about getting yourself the help and the support that you need. So I advise you to do that, and enjoy this time in your life. This is an amazing little journey that your little baby is growing, and they're needing you to do it, and just enjoy this time, because it really does go by super fast. Even though it feels like it doesn't, it really, really does. I'll see how I feel about that with 2 kids every day, but that's how I really feel. I feel that it does go by quick, and you're amazing. So good job, moms. All right, do you, because you are most important. Make sure you do something for you every day. If it's getting yourself some coffee, taking a shower, telling yourself, look in the mirror and say, you know, you're doing a great job, Mom. Whatever it is, just make sure you are giving back to yourself so that you can feel good and you can give back to your baby. All right, bye, ladies.